Hi, this is Kim White with the My Sexy Business team. I am here with my co-host,
Coni Meyers with Kick Butt Leadership.
who's a hot mess, I'll just tell you.
So is she.
But I have to say, she just fed and watered me well. We have just now taken a break to be able to have lunch, and it's almost 3. So it's been a great day. We have been so excited. We're here at the Hope to Hope conference, and it's just amazing what can happen when you start something. You don't even realize where it's going to go, and that's what happened with this conference. My son passed away almost 17 years ago, and out of that hurt, out of that grief, out of all of the pain that came from that, the gift out of that was that I learned to serve better, and I learned to be able to bring hope to others that they would make it through whatever they were going through. And this conference came from that. This conference is all about giving people hope in whatever situation they're in, whatever place they are in life. And I'm very excited about our next guest because she is a great example of getting through something that's extremely difficult. She is amazing, and I'm not even gonna I'm not even going to pretend that I understand because I have not lost a husband. But Cheryl Stevens, welcome to the Hope to Hope conference.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
You and Miss Coni have a common thread. You both have understanding of that loss of a spouse. And while I lost my son, and loss hurts no matter what kind of loss it is, there is a difference when you lose a spouse that I don't know. And I'm glad I don't know. To be honest, I'm glad I don't know that feeling.
Well, and I think one thing I want to say here is that the same is true when you've lost a spouse. It's really hard. There's no way for you to understand if you've lost a child. It's really, I think the losses that we have in our lives are all just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And and even what Cheryl's experienced and what I've experienced, they always say everybody grieves in their own way. So Cheryl, I'm glad you're here to tell your story.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I have to expand on what you said, Connie. It is different. I have found for many people that I've met through this process, we all seem to be in different areas of the grief or recovery, and everyone responds differently. And I learned that kind of the hard way, thinking I was ready to go to counseling, and even the counselor said you're not ready. And so I did not know that side of it before. So it's a learning experience. So
let's go back for a minute, because we three know some of the story, but people who are watching won't know.
Right.
I want to just make sure we keep everybody up to speed on what happened, because
Sure.
You were telling us before that you had these series of things that happened. You had been married for 41 years.
Yes.
When this
41
happened.
years, straight out of high school, married at 19. I was still living at home when I got married. So have 2 wonderful children with that marriage. My whole life was taking care of my husband, my home, my children. And things were going along pretty good. Lived in the same house 40 years before that. It was his childhood home. So, we're going along, and then about 2007, my husband said, I can't work anymore. He worked for himself. He was a landscaper. And he says, I can't work anymore. I hurt too bad. Like, okay. So I had a really good job, great insurance. It's like, we can survive on what I make. That's no problem. Didn't really go to the doctor. My husband's one, and I want to tell you right now, men, if your wife tells you to go to the doctor, please. My husband did not go for 35 years. 35 years of our marriage, he never went. So we're going along. His back, he said it was just back, a slip disc or something. He just couldn't work. His back was hurting. And then in 2010, I lost my dad. 2 weeks later, my husband was diagnosed with stage 3, nearly stage 4 cancer. That was the first trip to the doctor in all of those years. So I really didn't have time to grieve my dad, because all of a sudden I'm put in this mode of, okay, my husband is sick and he's extremely sick and I've got to take care of him. And this little cycle, God has a way of always putting something in front of me, or in front of anyone really, if you look for it, to help you, I believe, to get through all of those steps. Because this was in February of 2010. My daughter became engaged in February, and she was married the following year in March. During that year, though, my husband had several surgeries that just weren't very good for him. They just left him really bad. So we had, my dad, my husband, surgeries, but we had this great, exciting thing with my daughter getting engaged, planning that wedding in between all of his treatments and everything. So we're kind of, going level. And then right after my daughter got married, my husband had to have another surgery, and he went into the hospital, and they said he's in kidney failure. He's really, really bad. So it was like a month after my daughter got married. They told us that his cancer had grown. It was extremely aggressive, and they didn't know how much time he had left, which turned out to be not true, because it was an infection, we found out later. So while he's in the hospital, one of those little ups again, my son gets engaged. So, here we are on this little roller coaster, not really knowing what to feel, because, it's just kind of that roller coaster effect. But it seems like everything that happened bad, God put something in front of us to focus on. So, my daughter was married, the surgery, my son got engaged. There was that wedding. Then they told us that there was really not a whole lot more conventional treatment for my husband. He was going to go into some trials. He was accepted. Then we had a baby granddaughter. So again, that up and down. And he finished that one trial, and it wasn't working. He just couldn't do it. So searched for other doctors and other treatments. And then we had a grandson. So I say at this point, I'm kind of numb, because I don't know what's coming next. It's like, okay, all of these things are wonderful, but I can do without the bad parts of it. Just give me all the good ones. But then in December, Thanksgiving Day of 2015, our next to the last grandson was born, Thanksgiving Day. December 1st, they told my husband, your bone marrow was so damaged, you could never go through any more treatment. There's nothing else to offer you at all. February 1st, when I came home from work, we had already signed up for his, which I learned a lot through this process, hospice care. It wasn't hospice end-of-life care. It was hospice, a nurse coming out, giving him his medications and everything here. Didn't last very long. I came home February 1st, and he met me at the front door, and he could barely walk at this time. And I was sitting outside talking to my neighbor, and I said, Kathy, something's wrong. He's at the front door, and he could barely walk. So I come in, he's sitting on the couch, she's running a fever, so I immediately called the nurse. It was February 1st, and he passed away on February 15th. So it went kind of fast. I have another grandson now, but that first year, I think it all culminated because I hadn't really had time to grieve for my father. I am now grieving for my husband. I had a house that needed so much work, the foundation, everything, that I hired someone I knew to come in and fix it, but I didn't leave my bedroom. I didn't want to leave my bedroom. my dog and I stayed in our bedroom while closed the doors while they did work. And I quit going to church. I quit doing everything because I didn't really know. I didn't know what to do next because that was my whole life. I married him when I was 19 and lost him when I was 60. I mean, I really didn't know what to do. I remember the first time I got up to go to the grocery store, I walked around the grocery store for I don't know how long, and I came out with milk and eggs. And that was it. Because I don't have anyone to cook for anymore. So
I want to say this: like, anytime someone goes through a loss, well-meaning friends and family will say things to us that like pull on us, that really is trying to make them feel better. They don't mean to.
right.
But I think one of the reasons that a lot of times when you suffer a loss that you kind of go into isolation, it's really common, is because you don't have anything left for them to pull on, and you can't afford them to pull anything else.
Right.
And I think that's like you just described that. And I just want to say that, anyone that's listening, if you've suffered a loss and you've felt guilty because you've pulled back or kind of, like you said, gone into your room, if you feel guilty about that, please just stop.
Right.
Because it's something that is self-preservation. When you suffer such a great loss emotionally, there's so much tied to that you have to protect and guard yourself for a while. And that's a very normal, it's a very normal process. But I think sometimes when we're going through it, our family and friends can make us feel bad about it because they want to fix it. It's not that they're trying to be mean. It's just,
no, you're right.
They want to give you the magic pill of this 3-sentence thing and make you better because they love you and they care that you're hurting. And so a lot of times that's our answer to being able to heal up, is to pull back. And a lot of times that makes them press in, which makes it worse.
I would like to add to that because I received some very incredible advice like just a few days before Tom passed away. And this was from a doctor, a psychologist who worked she volunteered at an AIDS clinic, and she worked with the families of people that were dying. And she says, after Tom passes, people are going to say to you, well, when my uncle or my husband or my daughter or my whatever, my mother or my father died of whatever kind of cancer, whatever it was. And she says, people mean well. But she says, you are already grieving, so you cannot take on other people's grief. And that's a lot of what you're talking about. A lot of people, they do want to try to fix it. And they think the way to fix it is to help you know that others have gone through it. Well, that is not what you need to hear. And for anybody out there that's listening, her response to me of how to handle that was so appreciated. She said, what you do is you say, I'm so sorry for your loss. And then change the subject because you don't want to take on their grief on top of your grief. So anybody that's out there,
Can't afford it.
You're so, and pulling away is not a bad thing.
For a season.
I was just going to say for a season, because and if you have somebody that you know that can come and just sit and let you talk, because people are afraid to ask questions. And so they'll try to change the subject so you're not talking about whoever's passed, when in reality, for me anyway, and everybody grieves differently, for me, I wanted to talk about Tom. I wanted to talk about his life. And I don't know, Cheryl, if you felt that way too, but the best thing that can happen is to have somebody come. We had a previous interview where they just come alongside you and just sit and let you guide them on guide the conversation on how it's going to, the best ways you're going to be able to handle it.
Yes. I had a couple of friends, 2 girlfriends, one lived several hours away. And both of them, when they'd come over, that's what they would do. They would hug me and just sit. And if we wanted to talk, we talked. And if we didn't want to talk, we didn't. And I felt like something was wrong with me until I got through a little more through this process and realized that was totally normal. It was, like you said, a self-preservation mechanism, because I was having to learn how to do without my husband. I was having to learn how to live by myself. I had never lived by myself, and I was 60 years old. And I did go into that preservation mode. But I also at the same time realized that it did hit me when I came out of this. It's like I've held up in my house. I've lost a lot of my friends. I don't talk to them anymore. I don't know what they're doing in their lives. I haven't gone back to church. There was all these things that it did come, so I was missing, and it clicked. Well, you never do anything. I had actually quit work that February 1st. I never went back. I was in an industry that was super stressful, and I just didn't want the stress anymore. I thought prior to that I needed it because of the insurance and medical benefits I had, and I was the only one earning money. But like I wanted to totally separate my life at that point from everything I knew in the past. I didn't want the same routine. But once I got through, and I know it takes everyone differently, once I got through, it was a little less than a year, I got to that point that, okay, I've got to get up out of this house. I know that. I've got to get up and put some makeup on and brush my hair. And even if it's just to go to the mall and walk around, I've got to do this. And within 2 weeks, I had a part-time job at a nonprofit and had started my own business. Because I knew I needed to get out and meet people and do things and see what I can do to help others. It just kind of a light bulb comes on at some point that it's okay to stop that deep breathing right now. It doesn't mean it's gone. Things still trigger it, but I'm learning how to get past it.
I think you're bringing up a really, really, really good and important point. People that find some way of serving. So like this Hope to Hope conference is all about, because of Kim losing her son. And her way of serving was to come up with the Hope to Hope. She's done it in many other ways as well. But the Hope to Hope conference is a result of that. You found a way to work at a nonprofit to be able to give back. I call those crystalline moments. Crystalline is sparkly or clear, so moments of clarity. That moment when you said, okay, I need to get out of the house and do something, that's what that is. That's a crystalline moment. And it's really incredible when you start doing that. And if you look at people that have lost children or lost spouses, in particular if it's like sudden, and the ones that actually create a foundation or do some kind of volunteer work or do something to celebrate that person's life and to be able to give back are the ones that make it through the easiest. So congratulations on that. That's huge.
Thank you. Like I said, it's still tough at times, but the tough times are spread out further. And now I can look back and see happy times and talk about happy times we had and see him in my grandchildren and their quick wit. They got that from him. And it was just taking that first step, knowing it was going to be hard, but just getting out to where other people are, to the mall or out to eat, which going out to eat by yourself is something I had to, learn. And once I did, it's like something else. I back up. Something else triggered when I prayed so hard. Like I know I'm in this depression. I know I've got to get out of it. God, I need help. I need something. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. that's when those two things came into play within 2 weeks. And I said yes to both of them very quickly because I do believe he put those in front of me. If he would have told, that would have showed up 3 months before, I probably would have said, yeah, I don't want to do that. It's just, I'm not interested. But I leaned on my faith. I knew that at some point God would show me that, okay, you've had enough. Now here are some opportunities. Which one do you want to try to go after? And I went after both of them. So.
Good for you. That's actually the other side of a crystalline moment. There's always a gift or an opportunity, and you took them both. That's really good news.
And haven't really looked back. So even, and people tell me that, why are you doing this? And I'll flat out tell them it's because I fully believe God put this in front of me. I don't know if it's to make a long-term business out of it or to meet people or to exactly what to do. But for right now, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to do it. And if his plans change and he wants me to do something else, then I'll do that. But for right now, I've got to give it absolutely everything I've got because I fully believe that it was time and he put it in front of me. And I'm so glad I didn't turn my back on it. So
there's a saying, and I'm sure you know this saying, but there's a saying that says, what got me here won't get me there. It doesn't mean that those two things are the end all, that that's what you're going to do the rest of your life. And it may be that.
Right.
But if it's not, don't be surprised that he has other things in store for you that are bigger than that. Because I think, like what you said, opportunities come. And I think a lot of times they're transition. You couldn't go from what he has for you to do, like in a big way, if you didn't have a transition in between, because, going from being isolated, going from just learning how to, like you said, eat by yourself, or learning how to be in the house by yourself, or learning how to do things that other people take for granted, then going from that to this other big thing, you would never make that leap. Like, you would stay in the bedroom before you would take that giant leap. So I believe he does send us steps. Like,
yes.
I believe that there are transitional things that happen. And I'm not saying what you chose is not going to be what you do. I don't mean that at all. But I just think that that's another way to look at it, that I'm thankful for the things that brought you to us, because you're new to my princess world, and I'm glad you're in it.
Thank you. There is one thing that I want to say that one of my very good friends told me that I think is what started triggering the turnaround. And she flat out told me in one of my bad moments, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. I don't want to do anything. She goes, okay, but you're still here. God still has a plan for you if you're still here. So you've got to watch for it. You're not done yet. And every time I get in a down, start getting down, Februarys are very hard for me still. And I always think, okay, I'm still here. I have a purpose for being here. And that keeps me going. So,
would you like to know what it is, like the dates for the Hope to Hope conference? Would you like to know why I chose the dates I did?
Yes.
My son's birthday is in March, and we always have it on the week of his birthday. He passed away in November, so we always have it the week that he passed away. In July, we have it because he was home with me in the summers, and I miss that. I miss having that time with my boys. And so instead of taking those times where they are hard, and instead of doing it alone, I invite 100,000 of my closest friends.
I have to come up with something for that.
to come and be with me so that we can celebrate. Another part of, losing someone is you don't want them to be forgotten.
Right.
And so that's a way that I can cover both of those bases. I'm not alone during those times. And, I am not letting him be forgotten. So those are just to be honest about it, I just wanted to let you know that that's really where those dates came from, because I could have picked any dates I wanted.
Mhm. Well,
But that's where it came
special
from.
special way to honor him.
Yes.
It really is. And I did that at first. My first name of my company was, I have a little dog. It was actually my husband's dog. My daughter got it for us, thinking that it would, while I was at work, he would have to get up and move to let her out and feed her and everything. And her name is Annie. And she loved him. She was with him all day long. And in fact, as he passed, he was here at the house. She was up on the bed next to him with her little nose on his cheek. And so to honor him, my company name was Annie's Kissable Colors. And until everybody started calling me Annie, so I did have to change it, but that's why I did that, to honor him. So
I love it. Well, I can't believe we're out of time again. We say this every session because it's I don't even know where the
seems like
time.
we just start.
Yes.
it went fast.
And thank you so much for doing this. And I want to just brag on you a minute, because this is your first time to speak out loud about all of this. It's your first time to be interviewed like this. And I want to say you did a great job
Yes, you did.
sharing your story and giving hope. Lots of people go through exactly what you've been through, and I hope they find this video and it helps them get through it and helps them know the season, the transition parts, and that it's normal to isolate yourself, but that it's also necessary to transition into, celebrating and serving because they were here. So
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl, so much for being on the Hope to Hope conference.
It's been
Thank you
wonderful.
very much for having me.
Who are you?
Who am I? I am Coni Meyers with Kick Butt Leadership.
My co-host.
My co-host. Your co-host.
My co-host. I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team. We will be back at 4:30 Central Standard Time with the next session, and we cannot wait to see what's up next. This has already been an amazing time. So thanks again, Cheryl. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you at 4:30.